Hey guys, Caleb here with DSLR Video Shooter, and this little white thing on top of my camera is called the SeeMo from Accsoon, and essentially it takes your iPhone or iPad and turns it into a full production monitor for your camera. It is powered off of an MPF battery, has a billion assist features for video shooters, allows you to use AirPods to monitor your camera's audio, supports pinch to zoom, and allows you to record the camera's HDMI output, save screenshots, and even live stream from your camera over your phone, which is just insane. And all of this only costs $179. So this thing is loaded with functionality. And at first I thought it was mildly interesting, but after using it now, I think it's kind of a must. And I don't say that lightly. The ability to turn your phone, which all of us have in our pockets, instantly into a high quality production monitor is bonkers. And it's finally available for iOS thanks to this new device, which I'll have information about in the description. Before we get too far, I want to give you a disclaimer, and that is that Accsoon reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in checking this thing out, but they have not sponsored this video or are paying me to make it. This video is, however, supported by those of you who have purchased my camera guides and LUTs. You can learn more via the link in the description. Thank you guys so much for the support. So let's quickly go over the actual unit itself, then we'll get into the app and show you how all of this works. The SeeMo has a built-in phone holder, which operates really well. You simply open it up, stick your phone in, and it automatically soft closes on your phone. To power things up, we'll need a Sony MPF battery, which mounts to the back. Then we can turn it on using the power button and see our battery level indicator on the side, which is a really nice little feature. And from there, we can take our HDMI output of our camera, plug it into the left side. We can use one of the two included cables to connect the video output to either a phone or iPad, and we're ready to go once we download the Accsoon C app. There's a couple other cool features about this unit physically. One is that we have a cold shoe on the top, so you could add a little wireless receiver or a microphone or light to the top of this thing. And there's also a 5-volt output on the side, so you can use that to turn this whole thing into a battery to charge your phone or really anything that needs 5 volts worth of power. Another cool feature is that the clamp for your phone completely detaches so that you can take this unit and attach it to other accessories, mainly ones from Accsoon, like their iPad cage, where there's a similar receiver on the back. Also in the box, there is a little friction mount, so you can simply, change the angle of the monitor depending on your needs, and that's a really nice little added feature. Now let's take a closer look at the actual interface and all the crazy things the application can do along with the SeeMo. So here I have another camera angle so you can kind of see what's going on. I'm actually taking my main camera feed, sending it into the Accsoon SeeMo, and we're going to be able to mess around with things. So I'm going to tap on the center of the screen. That brings up the interface, and the first thing I'll note is I am using a LUT right now, so I can turn it off. This is what that looks like, and I'll go ahead and turn it back on. So this is actually using my LUT, which is available, and I'll have information down in the description for those who are interested in the camera LUTs that I make. But I've got that turned on, so I'll go ahead and tap the screen again. Now we have a clean feed. One of my favorite features is using the pinch to zoom functionality, which works just as you would expect. Simply pinch in to zoom, move it around, and now we can make sure that everything is working with my autofocus or focus in general. Same thing to reverse that, just zoom back out. I'll tap on the middle of the screen, and now we'll just kind of go all the way around and talk about all the crazy tools here. So at the top, we have a bunch of information about our current video settings. So we've got our video input, we have our encoder, which is H.264, record information. Yes, we can record, and we'll do that here in a second. We'll compare it to the actual feed recorded on the camera. We've got our audio input, audio codec, and then I can tap on the settings here and choose my video bitrate. Currently, I have it set to the max setting, which is 30 megabits a second. And then we have add and delete. This will allow us to change all of the assist tools that are at the bottom of the screen. So if there's a bunch you don't use, you can simply turn them off. I will close that, and now we'll pay attention to the bottom of the screen here. We have a ton of different options here. So the first one is going to turn on and off our color. We can check our different channels. So there's red. We've got a histogram here, and we have a waveform. Now note that a lot of these can be altered. So if I turn off the waveform and go all the way to the left here, you'll see that we have this little gear icon. Here we can make a bunch of different changes. So I can go all the way to the left here, find waveform, and we can choose what kind of waveform it is and where it is. So I'm going to center it
and we'll turn the opacity to 100, and I'll set the size to big. Now I'll close out of this, turn the waveform back on, and now we have a very large waveform. So that's a really cool option. Our next one is going to be peaking. So there's peaking on. You can see red where the image is sharp. I'll turn that off. We already talked about LUTs, and you can load your own LUTs. So I'll go ahead and leave that on. We also have zebras here, and you can kind of barely make that out here on the lamp and on my forehead. So there's those. I'll turn that off. Next, we have false color, which is awesome. You can have this dialed into the camera. At this time, you can't adjust the values. Hopefully that'll come in a future update. I'll turn that off. And the next one is going to be our audio levels. So the camera's turned way up high, so it's peaking quite a bit there. We'll turn that off. Next up, we have our aspect ratio. So I can go ahead and turn on masks for that. So let's go to 4:3, I'll tap the middle of the screen. Now we can see we have a nice 4:3 aspect ratio. I'll go ahead and turn that off. And next we have squeezing. So if you're going to use anamorphic lenses with your camera, you can go ahead and set up different de-squeezes, which is amazing. Super duper handy tool to have if you're into anamorphic. Now we have grids, so you can customize what those look like. Then we have our range, so we can do full or legal or not full. And then we have flipping, so you can actually flip the image. So this could be a really cool way to use your phone with something like a teleprompter where you might want to flip it, or if you're going to use it for vlogging or just all kinds of great reasons to have that as an option. This next one's really cool. It actually will overlay an image. So if you have the same framing for every single one of your thumbnails or something like that, you can turn this on, and as you can see, there's one of my thumbnails from one of my last videos, or actually the one that came out last. I'll go ahead and turn that off. And then our next one is to save a screenshot. So at any point you can simply tap this, boom, you just saved a screenshot to your camera roll on your phone. Now let's take a look at actually recording with this. So I'm going to swipe down and turn off my phone's built-in recording, and I'm going to tap on the middle of the screen and hit record all the way on the far right. So at this point, I am going to do a side-by-side of the actual camera feed that is being recorded on my A7 IV's SD card, and we're going to compare that to what's being recorded on the phone through the app. So we can see a side-by-side comparison to see what quality looks like. I'll also jump into 400% and we'll be able to see what that looks like side by side. And this will give you an idea of what kind of quality you can get away with directly recording on the phone, which is actually a super powerful tool to be able to capture images from your camera and either immediately post them to social media like Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, or be able to share that with people just super quickly without having to sit down to a computer, import your footage, yada yada. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. That is now saved to my camera roll, and I can pull that up and do whatever I want with it. You'll notice below the record button, we also have a live button. So you can actually hit this here and start to configure live streaming on this thing. So I can go to YouTube here, I can enter the stream code, and I can hit go live, and I can stream to YouTube with nothing but a $180 device, my phone, and my camera, which is just bonkers. And then there's one other crazy thing. You can take your AirPods, Apple AirPods, connect it and pair it with your phone and be able to monitor your camera's audio over AirPods. Now there is one downside to using the AirPods, and that is that there is a delay, right? Because there is a delay from the camera to the app and to the phone. And then there's an additional delay going from the phone to the AirPods. It's a little distracting if you're listening to something in the real world and over the app, but still a really cool tool to know about and have in your back pocket.
All right, so to sum things up and bring us down to earth a little bit, let's talk about cons. Really, guys, there's only a couple that I can think of. The first one, and the one that has bothered me the most, is going to be the build quality and the color of this thing. So it's working fine. I've not had any issues with it physically, but it definitely doesn't feel good in the hands. It is a very brittle plastic. You can see kind of like rough edges where the jacks are. It just doesn't give you a lot of confidence, especially when you're unplugging and plugging cables into it. And then there's the color. I don't understand why it is white, maybe because it's made for iOS devices, but I really would prefer something black and ideally something metal as well. But for what it is and for what it costs, I don't think it's the end of the world. I just really wish it was a little higher quality. And again, black would be nice. It's this really ugly white, at least to me personally. There's definitely some updates I would like to see. One, being able to bake in LUTs if you want to record them on your phone. Another thing I'd love to see is being able to trigger recording on the phone with the camera over HDMI, like a lot of video recorders out there. That way this would be a fantastic backup device to have. But the good news is I think a lot of this stuff can be done with firmware updates down the road. Which leaves me with the final thoughts, which is I absolutely love this thing, and I have a hard time seeing myself use a traditional camera monitor when I can use my phone, which I love and know, and have this incredible functionality with apps, being able to capture screen grabs, share them immediately. It's just a wildly powerful tool. So if you're interested in this thing, you can check it out in the link in the description. The cost is $180, and I think it's fantastic. So that's gonna wrap it up for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.